Hello, I'm Justin Smith, and you're on the record with the News Reporter. Our guest today is Joan McPherson, the president of the Columbus County Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. Joan, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here.
Thank you for having me, Justin. I've looked forward to this.
So I have served on your board before. I'm not currently, and the News Reporter, we are members of the Chamber. However, there are people out there who probably don't know what the Chamber does. How would you describe your organization?
So the Chamber of Commerce itself, our main goal is to help our business owners to do better, to get everything that they can out of the business and the Chamber. We also do advocacy for them. We do networking opportunities, sponsorship events. We have two major fundraisers a year, which is Shuck and Shag, which is in November, and then we have our annual golf tournament, which is in May, just coming up. And it gives you an opportunity to be among your peers, people that you may work with. Recently, I had a member come in and said, you know, how can we get the members to shop more with us? So it's not only the battle that we're fighting, how do you get the local people to shop and support our businesses? How do we get businesses to support each other? So we're always, on that mission to do the best that we can to make businesses aware of each other and make sure that our local population knows that it makes an impact by shopping these local businesses. And 67% of those monies that our people shop with local businesses and make those investments, it stays here instead of going somewhere else. So we want to do that. But another thing is the advocacy, really making sure that our members are aware of what legislation might be going on that might impact their businesses, and having a voice in that. One of the big things that we're hearing a lot about right now are the tariffs, and how could they affect Columbus County and beyond. There's a lot going on now about the ports. We know that Wilmington is nearby, and if they're impacted by the tariffs, some don't realize that when the ships come in, the cargo ships come in, typically if they've traveled from China, they make 3 or 4 stops. Well, under the new tariffs, they may only start making 1 stop, and those 1 stops would be in New York, your bigger things. So then you've got to get those products from a large port where they may have been coming closer, and also agriculturally, those products that are shipped out, they're going to have to be shipped further. So we're paying very close attention to that. And the U.S. Chamber, we coordinate with them. We had a meeting with them last week virtually and learned a lot. And I have reached out to Congressman Rouser and just trying to see, where do we stand and what can the Chamber do to help our businesses have the least effect.
Right, and so business owners, small business owners are often so busy in the trenches.
Yes.
I find myself there too. And so it seems like one benefit of the Chamber is they have you to help kind of zoom out a little bit, put things into perspective, and keep up with what's going on at the local level, the state level, the federal level, because oftentimes small business owners are just too busy to do a lot of that.
Absolutely, Justin, and we realize that. And as we plan networking events or whatever, we're also very intact with that you and Rachel here, as well as family obligations. This is so important because it's your livelihood, you're serving the community. So we try to do things to make your lives a little bit simpler as business owners, and to plan events in a way that they're more convenient for you and that you can get to those events to shake hands and everything. One example of that is our annual meeting and mingle. For years, the Chamber did that, an 8 tabletop, and we noticed that our members were coming in and you sit with the people that you work with day in and day out, and you're not really mingling around the room, which you can't when you're sitting down for a meal. So we have made that now. There's very few tables. We have them there for those that can't stand or are uncomfortable. where you have to kind of mingle through the crowd. And what we're noticing is there's more networking happening and more people supporting each other because of that networking.
So jump in and correct me if I say something incorrect here,
Okay.
but I think it's important for people to understand kind of the unique structure of the chamber, because you're a nonprofit organization, you're a member organization, so businesses, they invest through that annual membership, and then they're able to get the benefits from the chamber. But the nonprofit chamber also has a contract with the county tourism authority to market Columbus County as a tourism destination.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So explain, I guess, the membership side of things and why it is important for businesses to actually have a membership in the chamber.
So the membership side of it, Justin, is one of the big things is the algorithms and all with the, when you're using Google. By being a chamber member, that automatically puts you up near the top, where some of the smaller businesses, especially new, that are just getting started, they might not have that visibility. Well, outside of that, the phone rings just constantly at the chamber, and people are asking, where do I need to shop? What do I need to do? And so the information that we give out is only for chamber members. So
Is only about chamber
Right,
members,
right.
So
So
if
if-
someone calls you and they want a recommendation of a certain type of business, you're going to look on your chamber directory.
and give them those names. And so, you're getting that. And also, so many of us are out at so many events and stuff, and it's amazing. I try to attend all the festivals and pretty much anything that I can in Columbus County. It's amazing at the questions that I get asked. And so why I highlight the tourism aspects, I can really stand behind our members. And Kathy is at the office as well. She's been with the Chamber 43 years, so she is a walking information booth. But we take pride in being able to tell others about our members. And, like I said, the information that you get on an email push, you have opportunities to sponsor. We have certain members that anytime you get an email from us, their name is there because they're at that sponsorship level. So it's the exposure, the information, the recommendations, all of that, as well as the advocacy, all of that balls into one.
Okay, so that's the membership side of the chamber. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about the tourism side. And will you, without getting too far in the weeds, explain how that's funded?
So the tourism side, so the merger happened around 2013. It was the Whiteville Chamber and then the TDA come in, and now we're the Columbus County Chamber. So we're countywide, which our tourism assets are countywide. So in order to promote the tourism assets, there has to be funding to do that. So Columbus County has a 3% occupancy tax, and those funds are deposited by any organization that rents rooms, the campgrounds, if you pull your camper in, for less than 90 days. That's the kicker, less than 90 days. If you rent a room or a camping space or something like that, you're charged a 3% occupancy tax. That's deposited, and we get that deposit information from the county tax office. And those are the funds that we use to promote Columbus County.
Gotcha. So basically, if someone is even staying at a local hotel, they're paying a occupancy tax, and ultimately that's coming to the chamber to help market
Right.
Columbus County as a tourism destination.
Right. It's actually the Tourism Development Authority, and it has its own separate account, and only those occupancy tax dollars are put in that account. And then we have a 15-member board, and they help us, get the budget where it needs to be. In fact, April the 29th, we're going into a planning session and going to look at different things around where do we need to be advertising and that sort of thing, and how can we help Columbus County shine and make people want to come here.
So what are some of the assets, let's say, that you are marketing as a tourism destination? What do you think is going to bring people to Columbus County to visit?
So Justin, the ongoing joke, if it grows and we can eat it, we have a festival about it. So of course the festivals are, and there's 20 if you count the powwow and the fair. So that's a lot of marketing that can be done to bring, if you and Rachel stayed in Raleigh, hopefully you're going to see some information that's going to bring you here to us to hopefully stay overnight. We know that people get hungry while they're here, stop and fill up with gas, and all of those sales tax dollars that you're spending there, they help our economy. They fund our schools, our rescue, all kinds of things that those sales tax dollars are doing. Tourism is an economic development tool because if we're attracting enough people, there could be new tourism assets that come in. If someone starts a business, you have the Maze Craze, you have Daddy Joe's Campground, Boondocks Adventure Farm. Those are just a few. That's not all that people have invested in to bring people to Columbus County, but those type things develop more with the more people you have coming to Columbus County.
Yeah, and I think those examples you just gave, those attractions draw many more people to Columbus County than I think a lot of our viewers would realize. Because, if you're a lifelong Columbus County resident, you're not looking at it from that tourist angle for the most part. But, I've personally been to those attractions, and it's amazing at the number of people, out of town people largely, that come to those attractions.
And I'll share this number with you. Anthony Long and Eric Pino own Boondocks. Through the fall and Christmas, they had 33,000 people go through their gates. This is in Nakina. And, for him and Eric to be bringing in that type of people, it's amazing because, like I said, hopefully they're stopping at the gas stations and grabbing a bite to eat as well. And so we learn things every day from the people that we represent just through conversations. And we want not only people to come into Columbus County, part of our job too is telling the story in Columbus County. We hear some amazing numbers for some of these attractions that say 95% of their business is coming from outside of Columbus County. That's awesome to know that we're pulling that kind of people, through our gateways. But we do want also for those that live here to experience those things and share it with your friends that don't live in Columbus County. I think Leadership Columbus 2025 this year is taking place. We changed up the format of that. So not only are we promoting the business side, we're promoting our tourism assets because we want the leaders participating in that program to know about our tourism assets as well as appreciating our government and our businesses, our health care centers and all the history. We feel like it makes a very good combination.
And so this is a program that is organized by the Chamber of Commerce, and people can apply to be a part of Leadership Columbus. And then you have a program that is curated to help them have a better understanding of Columbus County, basically, right?
Yes.
And that's going on now.
It is. We started in January. We partner with Southeastern Community College to make that program the best that it can be. Typically in the past, that program has ended in May. As Brenda Orders and I got to looking at it, I was like, oh my God, there's no way we can do everything that we want to do and get all the information and the education to these participants in that short a time period. So our last field trip of sorts will take place in September, the first part of September, and then the participants will graduate at the end of September. So we've turned it into a 9-month program.
So we've talked a lot so far about the Chamber as an organization and some of the programs. Let's talk a little bit about you. Okay. So I think a lot of people know you, given the nature of your work, but just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in the Chamber, because you've been involved in the Chamber in various capacities for a while.
I have. In 2017, I think I'm telling it right, I became the chair of the board of directors for the Chamber. I'd served 2 years but prior to that as a board member, and I had the opportunity. Things weren't just quite like they needed to be, so I served 2018 as well as the chair. So when I left as the chairperson, Jenny Holcomb, who was there at the time, and I attended some type of meeting, and it was a nonprofit, and I looked at her and I said, you know what, I think that I want to work with them because they needed a part-time person to do their thing. She says, please wait before you do that. So she talked to her board at the time, and I was offered the job of member relations director, and what my job was is to kind of drop in on the existing members just to make sure that everything was going okay, if there was anything that the chamber or I could do to help, with their business, and then also solicited new members. And so when Jenny left in 2022, that was in August, I came in with the board's approval, of course, as the interim president for the chamber. And the chamber hired me full-time as president in November. So this past November made 2 years that I have been in my position as president at the chamber. And of course, before the chamber, I was born and raised here in Whiteville. My degree is in psychology, and I use that more sometimes, Justin, than I do the business part of it. But in addition to that, outside of the chamber, I've been fortunate enough to be in the agricultural community. I take vacation each year and help tobacco farmers with their good agricultural practices certification. And I think that I benefit from that as the chamber president because it's also keeping me in touch. Although there's not many tobacco farmers now in Columbus County, it keeps me in touch with the agricultural that still lives so richly here in Columbus County because I get to hear more than about their tobacco. I get to hear about labor issues. I get to hear about the corn and the soybeans, and like we were talking about, transportation, getting those crops where they need to go. So it lets me be well-rounded, and my family is here. I have, my mom is still here. I have a niece that has a 3-year-old. And so, we're at different stages in our lives, and it lets me connect better with people because I can kind of see a little bit in every avenue. And I enjoy it, Justin, most days. The thing that I think I talk about the most is the politics. And not that we're political, we stay neutral. We do not share political opinions at the chamber, but it can be a difficult time, and especially now.
Right. Well, and not to get too far down that road, but sometimes when we talk about politics, it's little p politics. Mm-hmm. It's not partisan politics, right. But it's how decisions are made and who gets certain resources. And in a place like Columbus County, every community is really proud of its heritage and its history, and they want to advocate for their own community, right?
Yes, and I think one of the biggest things that Kathy and I have been able to do over the last 2 years is develop strong relationships. So today, after I leave you, I have to go to Lake Waccamaw and Tabor City. And, used to, I wouldn't have made those trips as often as I'm making them now. The 4 chambers, Chaburn Chamber is just getting back on its feet. They're waiting on their 501c3 status. And we're going to do a murder mystery theater, hopefully to bring 200 participants in, probably going to be in the spring of next year. But one thing that we've talked about, there's room for all of us. We're a county-wide chamber, but we support Tabor City, Fairbluff, and Chaburn as their own individual selves. And for people to see us working together and maybe to do this murder mystery together, we're hoping that, it helps develop even stronger relationships throughout the entire communities that they're in.
So some of the work that the chamber does, people can't really see, some of the advocacy, some of the networking, that sort of thing. However, some of the work you can see, and here lately we've seen some signage that has been a result of the chamber, right? Will you tell us about that? Yes,
gladly. So I think our first signage project was Fairbluff. So looking at it and this is done from a tourism side. So the tourism side of the chamber worked with the Fairbluff Chamber because they owned the signs coming into Fairbluff. And the Riverwalk, we've identified that it's not probably getting as much traffic as it can, so we want to promote that. So those signs, we worked with them and had those developed, so it tells you welcome to Fair Bluff, but it also mentions the Riverwalk, so that hopefully as people are traveling through, they want to stop and take a few minutes and walk that. That's a 1.26 mile round trip, so 6-3 down and 6-3 back. Then we moved to Chadbourn, and I don't know if people realize how much is really on the cusp of happening in Chadbourn. There's 151 new jobs that are coming. So we, again, there was 2 signs on 410, so we worked with Town Council to get those done and got great success. Whiteville has been our third signage project, and I think everybody has seen those. Kenny and Lynn White finished with those last week. We had a small correction to make, as well as some civic organization signs to be added, and those are at the 4 entrances of Whiteville. And before, those were chain link fences that served as a sign of sort that the Whiteville Chamber had done many years back. And as we're talking about doing signs and stuff, we're doing it with a purpose. Anything that we're installing, we're trying to do it where down the road, when Joan's probably not with the chamber and tourism anymore, that a director can come in and those signs can be easily repaired or changed. With the Whiteville signs, they're little panels that just say the Arts Council decides to close or move. That could be removed and whatever replaces it put there. And you'll notice on those signs, there's no direct advertising for any particular business. What is advertised on the Whiteville sign is the museum, the Arts Council, and that sort of thing. And it lets you know that there's fine dining and casual dining and shops without calling any names for that, because we're highlighting the tourism assets. And tourism assets, places that are going to bring people what you're going to eat, what you're going to do, where you're going to stay, where you're going to host your own event. All of those fall into tourism. So we've already started discussions with Tabor City as well. So we're in the process there. And what my board we've talked about is that it's important that as visitors come through Columbus County and the individual towns that make it up, is that it's attractive and it makes you want to stop.
I hope that you'll come back here on the record on a regular basis, maybe every couple of months, but our time today is almost over. Is there anything else that you feel like is really important for people to know before we wrap up today? And
Justin, thank you for that. I hit on it briefly. It's the shop local and the be local. I find that as you look at social media, often you're seeing negative comments. If we could just train ourselves, especially where our businesses are concerned, to be more positive, because this is home, and if you want certain things, you've got to support them, and you've got to tell their story. If you have a good meal at a restaurant, write a review on Yelp or Google reviews to let them know. If you go somewhere and they do a good job printing a product for you or whatever, review them online. It doesn't matter that they're right here in Columbus County. Let's help spread the word. If you're on social media, share your favorite businesses' posts and stuff, because if we don't support what's here in Columbus County, it won't be here long. And I think that that's something we tend to forget sometimes. On the weekend, we're tired of the same old routine. Shop local when you can, and when you can't, sure, go get what you need. Try to limit your internet purchases and support your friends. And that's what they are so many times. There are friends and acquaintances that are owning businesses, and it's their dreams. And if we can support those, and another thing on the tourism note, support these businesses, Cape Fearless Extreme, your Maze Crazes and all. I want to go back and them say, oh, we're not getting 95% of our business from outside of Columbus County, to hear them say we're getting 90% or 85% because our people are supporting them as well.
Absolutely. Shop local. That's a good
Absolutely.
rule to live by. Joan, we could talk for much longer,
Yes.
and that'll come later at a different date. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
All right, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you back here soon for another episode of On the Record.